Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for hopping into our live workshop series. We're really excited to run a part 2 of the Voiceflow Beginner Workshop. So for those who came out to part 1, Tyler was our awesome host. We're so excited to have him back for a second part. So quick agenda as we kind of get started here. And I know folks are kind of rolling in. So I'll sort of admit them as they come in, but we're first going to start with some intros. So Tyler's going to hop on, share a bit about himself. Then we'll share a bit more on the Voiceflow showcase, which is something that we newly launched. And Norman's going to also hop in to share a bit about his projects that he's working on, rolling into some housekeeping. So answering things like how's Q&A going to work, and also how the rough format of this workshop is going to work. And then we'll have our break into our workshop, which is split into 3 parts. So doing an NLU versus AI for 10 minutes, understanding assistant settings, and then diving into logics, variables, and set AI step for the last portion of the workshop. Once we finish the portion of the workshop, we're going to open it to Q&A. It's going to be a pretty freestyle open Q&A, so folks can kind of unmute, hop on, and ask questions and share insights with each other. Okay, cool. So without further ado, Tyler, if you want to hop on and give a quick introduction.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Tyler Brunson. I am, a proud bot builder. I work in the Voiceflow space. I've used some other programs, but I really fell in love with this platform. It really unlocks lots of capabilities for, not just people and businesses, but for community and friendship. And that's why we're all here. You can see where you can find me there on the screen. I did start the AI agency. Norman and I are also working together to begin a company called Chat Integrations. Our goal with that is, to make some of these more complex things available for no coders and low coders. So, without getting too much into all of that, basically, I am here to try and help us take people from 0 to 1. The point of this workshop and the last one was beginning bot building. So, definitely here to answer any questions. But, the focus is more tuned towards the low code and no code environment. When it comes to developmental stuff, of course, we're always there to help. You might just want to reach out to us privately on DMs or, in the Discord for that. But, without too much further ado, we can move on. So back to you, Kim.
Great. Yeah, thanks for the intro. And he's obviously in Discord, so hit him up if you have any questions or ideas or partnerships that you wanna attend to after. Cool. So we're gonna dive right into our developer showcase. So this is something new that we've launched, and it's essentially community-built integrations, plugins, and stuff that are created for Voiceflow. So we've created a showcase live on our website, so you can check it out. It's right under the templates tab on the homepage. But if you're interested in submitting something, we'll also be dropping a showcase submission form after this workshop. So I'm also going to invite on Norman, who has an integration up on the site. So Norman, if you want to hop on and share more about what you've built.
Yep, sure. Hi, guys. Pleasure to meet you. So I actually met Tyler through Twitter, and we sort of started our relationship, and he got me really excited about Voiceflow recently. And I sort of dove into the deep end right away and started looking into building, integrations for Voiceflow. And together with Tyler, we, as he said, we are building this agency, and I will take care of the coding part, and he will take care of the Voiceflow, chatbot building part. So I'm just going to share my screen and show you what we have built, the first integration.
Yeah.
Hopefully you should see the screen. Nice.
I can see it.
Just move that. All right. Yeah, so you see an empty page. You're all familiar with this little guy here. So there's 2 integrations I'm currently working on, the Calendly and the Street View one. So today I'm just going to show you the Calendly. Just restart that. And basically what this does is going to allow you show a Calendly sort of booking platform to users, which feels very native within Voiceflow. So the first thing you would have to do is ask for the user's name. So that's very important later for the actual booking of the appointment. So you can, know who you are booking the appointment for. You will ask them for the email, and then it's going to, verify whether the user is in the time zone that the system has determined. In this case, for me, this is actually correct. I'm in Germany, so this time zone is correct. I'm just going to say yes. And then it's going to show a calendar. And for the next 7 days, it's going to show the dates where you have availabilities in your Calendly. So, for example, I'm going to pick the Friday. And then as soon as you've picked the date, it fetches all the availabilities from your Calendly, and it will transfer that to the time zone that the user is in. So it's quite useful for international clients as well. So when the client picks a time, it will present them with a button, book your appointment. And this is a slightly unfortunate part of the integration, really. And it's due to Calendly not providing an API. So we have to redirect the user to the website of Calendly. The name is pre-filled, the email is pre-filled. They can add, some comments or questions to this. And all they have to do is click schedule the event. And that is done. After this, obviously, the Calendly will take over, send you an email with the confirmation of the appointment and all that stuff. Now, this is one part. I'm going to show you some ideas that we're working on and some possible integrations. So, for example, one thing that many people have asked for is a file uploader within Voiceflow. So here are some mockups that, how we could imagine this to look like. This is one of them. Another possibility is including a Google Street View within the Voiceflow bot. So you would ask for an address, and then you would get either a live version of Street View, or you would get an image of the address that you have specified. And the last possibility, actually, no, it's not the last possibility, but the last screenshot that we've created here is being able to pay your invoices via the Voiceflow bot as well. So it's going to basically tell you, how much you have to pay. It's going to render some input fields where you can enter your card numbers, your expiration date, etc., and just hit the pay button. And then in the background, it will go back to Stripe and actually pay the invoice. Now, if you're interested in more, as Tyler mentioned, we've built the chat integrations page now. You can contact us here. There's a couple of options, email, phone, whatever. Feel free to reach us. And thank you for your time. If you have any questions, drop them in the Slido. Tyler will do his best to answer them at the end, because I unfortunately won't be there.
Thanks so much for sharing, Norman. If you want, could you actually even drop that website link in the chat?
Sure.
So folks can check you guys out. And yeah, this is super cool integrations and some great ideas there, which I know a lot of folks in the community have been asking for. So thank you for sharing. I'm going to hop back onto my share screen here. Make sure I have the chat open as well. Great. So yeah, again, if there's any other folks that are also interested in submitting something, we will be sharing a showcase submission form after to follow. One thing I did want to mention is that there is a difference between the developer showcase and the templates page. So if you go to our website and hover on the templates toggle, you'll see that there's an option to go to either or. But sharing a bit more is, if you are interested in submitting something for the developer showcase, it has to be something that's built on top of the Voiceflow API. So we're looking at custom web chat experiences, channel connections, even custom interfaces. Whereas for templates, they're more so pre-built Voiceflow projects that are flows using existing Voiceflow blocks. So if you are creating a Google Sheets connection using the API step, that would fall under the templates. Also, other examples might include how to create product recommenders, and also like learn basics templates, like for instance, the one that Tyler is going to share today. So speaking of Tyler's templates, there's a lot of questions from the last workshop around how to find the templates that he's going to work through today. I'll drop his creator link, his creator profile link in the chat right after I finish my intro here. And then just to note, he does have 2 templates that everyone can play around with. One is a stripped down version that is free, and then one that is a paid version. So definitely check that out. And it's really exciting to see more and more folks kind of submit templates and share their really cool work. So for Q&A, I know this is a one that we're trying to moderate better. We are going to use Slido as our main platform to run Q&A. So I'm going to drop the link. I've dropped the link in the chat, but I will share it again. And essentially, you just click on the link, or you can scan the QR code right now if folks have their phones handy. And then just go to the Q&A. You'll see like a Q&A blocks, like the one I have here in the screenshot. Type your question, send it in, and that way we can have a compiled list of everyone's questions at the event. And then I'll be able to share it up on the screen, and folks can also upvote questions if they have like similar ones. So please join if you can, and that will be how we're going to run Q&A. Cool. So that's everything from me. I'm now going to hand it over to Tyler to begin the workshop.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. And of course, thank you, Norman, for showing off what we've got going. I'm going to go ahead and get my screen sharing. Actually, let me pull this. Sorry, I had my focus on the chat. So screen, there we go. All right. So I'm assuming y'all can see what we're looking at. I wanted to kind of pick up right where we left off last time here inside of this little tester bot we started. Now, the main change that has occurred since we last talked is going to be this section I've highlighted. This is something I've seen a lot of requests for. It's something relatively simple to build into the bot, at least for a simple listen loop. So that's kind of where I wanted to start, but let me back up one step. Like Kim said, on the templates page, there are two options. There is the Head Start Lite bot and the Head Start template. The Lite version is the free version. The template has a couple more of the complicated, more robust features built into them. So if you want to follow along, we're going to be working inside of the Head Start Lite bot today. But I did want to briefly touch on this little system here. Now, per our schedule, we're going to talk a little bit about AI versus NLU. And I also said that I was going to be answering this question that was brought to the, where'd it go? This thing. I don't remember the name, Slido. Someone asked how to tie the GPT-4 ability to, view pictures. Unfortunately, that's not a capability yet for really anybody that I'm aware of, mainly because OpenAI hasn't released the APIs for that yet. APIs are application programming interfaces. So basically, currently, the only way you can use that feature is directly on their platform. Now, once they get that API released to the public, we're going to work on integrating that into these systems. I'm sure Voiceflow is going to be, considering the same things. But hopefully that kind of addresses that. So back to AI versus NLU. Now, everybody here probably knows what AI stands for. Some people might not know what NLU stands for. NLU stands for Natural Language Understanding. Here on my screen, if you go up to the top left area, you'll see this button right here. It says NLU model. That is your natural language unit. This is where your variables, your logics, all that stuff are kind of computed and stored. This is where it's best, in my opinion, to alter and change these inputs. As you can see, these are yes, no, and fallback are pre-built ones from Voiceflow. You can extend them and add more information. Fallback is a great one to extend. The way fallback works is if it doesn't recognize the call, it will kind of fall back and go take you a step backwards. That's very useful to extend in the event you're getting kind of false positives from your bot. So if you're asking, if you have like an if logic, there can be a option where if they say something that isn't one of the options on the if, it'll fall back and try and recapture what is there. On the other hand, these are regular intents. You just hit create an intent. You can come add whatever utterances. For this one, I just have main menu. I've found sometimes it's nice to have intents with only one utterance. And the reason for that is it can help not capture too many things. Sometimes if you add too many intents with too many utterances, the way it is calculated is here in the settings. Let me refresh this. So this is your intent confidence. This is the threshold for the intent to be captured. So the way the NLU works is by actually, digesting the sentence that was put in, letter for letter, word for word. And if I say, there's an example on the Voiceflow website where it says, pay with credit card. It's if I have an intent that captures credit card, it's going to match to that. Well, credit card is, really close in terms of letters and size and, actually what it's about to say debit card, but that's a very different thing. Credit card and a debit card, very different. So, if I put in credit card, it'll capture 100%. If I put in debit card, those share about 70% of the same letters. So it would actually capture that intent. That's where that fallback can come in handy. And that's also, a little bit about the NLU. So NLU, the way I kind of think of it, is a small language model. LLM stands for large language model. That's your AI. The NLU is kind of a small language model. You pre-train it with these informations, with these variables, and go from there. That's how it works. When I say train, that's what I mean up here in this training box. The training does not train the LLM. You're not sending information to OpenAI to change GPT. The training is changing your NLU. Now, another thing I like to point out here, because, to be fair, it's not very obvious. Here on the very far left side of the screen, there's a small gray hash mark. Anytime you're running a test, if you hit this small gray hash mark, you'll see what's going on inside of your NLU. These are the variables from this test run. As you can see, currently user language is set to 0. This little bot that I've built here is a bot to be able to detect and change the language. So I see we have some questions. I'm going to take a second and kind of read through those.
Yeah, there's actually one that I accidentally deleted, but it was around if you can go over the intent fallback percentage. So whoever asked that question, do you want to raise your hand and even hop on side?
Just to kind of talk a little bit about that while we're waiting. The intent confidence might be what you're talking about, this fallback intent. What this means is in the event that the threshold is not met, it will fall back and call on the fallback intent. So the fallback intent basically just takes you backwards a step. Now, it's kind of tricky to show that in action because I don't have anything built for that, and I would have to kind of scramble to do that. So this could be something I'm going to write down to follow back on a later class. So great question. I appreciate that.
For sure. Yeah, hopefully that answers whoever's question that was. But yeah, feel free to raise your hand.
Kind of back on track here. This is our tester bot. Last time we were here, we built, the simple intro and the listen loop. The listen loop is a component. Components are wonderful things. We talked about them a lot because they are modular. You can very easily grab and reuse this, and anytime you change it, it takes place everywhere that block is placed. So components are wonderful tools. The listen loop we built last time is basically a listen loop with the quick detection system tied to it. The simplified explanation is it listens, passes through, responds, listens, passes through, responds. So it'll loop as long as the conversation, needs to take place. However, what this quick detection does is it's listening and it's going to create an intent that, the user wants to stop this conversation. It'll pull over here to this unconnected block. Since this is a component, the unconnected block will close the component and take them back here to the main flow. Now, to kind of talk a little bit about what we are looking to build here, this is our, I'm going to come right back to this. We promise settings, so let's kind of go over settings. Now, when we talk about settings for the bot, these are the built-in functions for changing how your bot will appear. Now, this right here is your code snippet that most of you are probably using to attach to a web page. You copy paste this somewhere in the body of the page, and that'll put the little bubble here. This is the Voiceflow assistant. He's always here when you're in the designer. But basically, this is where you can change the name. So starting template web chat, let's change that to tester bot because this is our testing. You can change the description. This will change this to if I can spell, you'll see changes right there. Chat persistence. This is a big one to touch. This is the ability for this bot to remember who you are. So for instance, when I talk to this one, it recognizes me. That's because its chat persistence is set to never forget. That means that it is keeping the information in the database on Voiceflow's end. If you hit forget after tab closed, this is probably something more for like security purposes. Maybe this is on a public computer for a teaching, or a classroom or something. That way, the information that say one student put into the bot, someone else can't go and kind of read through what they were asking. So that's what this one's about. Position, right versus left, where it's going to appear on the screen. Side spacing is the pixel size from the bottom of the screen. So if I were to change this up to 100, that means that the bot is going to scooch probably here. Now we're moving on to the appearance and everything. Does the customization via JavaScript attribute param assistant tied to it is ignored? I don't think it's ignored. I think it's overwritten with the JavaScript you're working towards. So hopefully that kind of addresses your question there. Like Norman said, I specialize in the bot buildings. He specializes in the coding and the back end. So, my JavaScript is about as good as my Spanish, which is muy poquito. Back to the appearance, these are just kind of ways that you can, change what exactly your bot will look like. You see, obviously upload image, change all sorts of things here. Now let's go to the other settings. That was on the integrations page. Of course, you have dialog API, all these other things you need. But settings, this is going to be more of your background information, like your project ID, version ID, the intent confidence. This is the threshold for setting that fallback intent like we mentioned. Message delay is a big one I like to change. Currently, these have a 1 second delay. Some bots, if you want them to appear more conversational, the delay is nice so that it doesn't seem like they're just being, fed information. But sometimes, users find it kind of annoying. They know they're talking to AI and it's taking forever to respond for no reason other than, it's set to delay. So, I could change this to 10,000 milliseconds. That's 10 seconds of delay for each message. Typically, I like to sit around 100. It's got a 0.1 second basically. Global no match. This is what happens whenever you hit the global no match. So if you ask a question, for instance, ask a question of your knowledge base and the information's not in the knowledge base, it'll say, sorry, I didn't get that. Please try again. And then it's going to fall back. So anytime that fallback is triggered, this is what happens. You can also click generative, give it a system prompt, all the sort of settings and everything you're used to. Global no reply. This is what happens when someone sits in the bot and doesn't say or do anything. I typically like to change this to about 90 seconds. Now what that means is it was set on 10. That means if someone's talking to my bot and they don't type in for 10 seconds or they don't click a button, it will send a message that says, hey, talk to me, for instance. So that's what would happen after 10 seconds. I can give you an example. If we go over here to the tester, run a test. So I changed it to 5 seconds. So you'll see it's going to give us the button. And after 5 seconds, it's going to say, hey, talk to me. And, fall back and give us those same options. What I found best for my bots and use cases is, like I said, change this to about 90. That is a minute and a half of them sitting there, not really doing anything. And then, you can say, hey, I see you're busy. You can come back later. Or say, main menu. So now after 90 seconds of them not doing anything, it'll say, hey, you're busy, come back later, or you can just say main menu if you're lost or stuck. So that kind of brings me back to our NLU. So before I get back into building, I want to kind of read through some of these questions, see what we've got going.
Okay, yeah, feel free to come through any questions right now.
I see questions about the Calendly integration and how to make it. That is a custom coded backend, so it's not really something we can cover in this class. We will be making that available. It is currently being shown on the developer showcase, so it will be available very soon. As far as how that works, basically for plugins to work, it's a custom action that activates that. You need a custom code running in the back to be able to perform the action and render the object within the Voiceflow screen. So, you know, that's kind of a high level of what it's doing. But, you know, that's for a different class, a much more advanced type thing.
I think Sid also had a question. So I'm going to ask him to unmute.
Hello. So basically, before I ask my question, here's the context. I am currently building a bot, an AI persona bot for basically a very famous designer who runs his own bootcamp for the upcoming UI UX designers. That bot is basically trained on his data, basically all his videos and the website data that he has. But the main problem is that I can train the bot in his personality, but he was saying that most of the queries that he get is regarding the UI and UX of the website or of an app, which he has to manually review of any student or of every student. So Tyler, it was basically me who was asking, can we use the GPT-4 feature of image recognition? So basically, I could integrate it, and you definitely answered me over there. But can you advise me how can I tailor my bot in a way that it talks like a designer or more like a designer in his personality?
Yeah, sure. That's a wonderful question. We can definitely dive into that. So the way I do that is using personas. Now, personas are not currently built into this bot. Now, one way I've done this in the past is, say you have transcripts from his videos. You can go to GPT-4, I would recommend, not 3, and you know, feed in that transcript and just ask GPT to produce a prompt which will emulate that creator's, you know, cadence and speaking style. I've had some great results with this, being able to basically clone people. The way you do that is using a set AI block, which is over here. So in your set AI block, what you're going to want to do is you're creating a new variable. Let me see, this one doesn't have it. So we just call it persona. If I spell right, persona, create variable. And then in this prompt, this is where you would put whatever it puts out. So for instance, one, you know, Alex Hozamori, or however everyone says his name, he's real famous. You know, basically where your prompt is what GPT will give you. It's going to describe how he talks, what he says, and, you know, the way he says it. Your system prompt down here in the bottom is kind of more your hard-coded orders. So for instance, you are a persona bot, or you are a persona impersonator bot. You should speak as if you are the person, the celebrity. Now up here, you know, maybe we're talking about Alex. We'll say you are Alex H. One thing you'll notice for me is I don't do, period space. I like to do shift enter. It's the same amount of characters, so it doesn't take more tokens, and I get better results from the bot when I do that. It's not adding in punctuations and things that can kind of confuse it. So, you are Alex H. You are a highly skilled salesman. You are very candid. You like to talk from personal experience with, what does he do? He's a marketer, marketing and sales. You also have modeled. You like to say, or you like to respond with jokes sometimes. All right, so this is going to just give us a little preview of what it would do. So basically, this is going to apply the persona with this prompt. So what that means is every time we call on the persona variable, it's going to be calling on this kind of set AI. Now, what we can do with this is, let's just copy this, Control C, go to our listen loop, and we're going to paste this, for instance, right above our response. So we can kind of preview this. So you can see this is what it came out with. Hi there, it's Alex H. Thanks for the intro. I must say I'm flattered you've taken an interest in my career when it comes to sales and marketing. I definitely have my fair share, blah, 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 blah. So basically what this does is this is creating that persona into the persona variable. Now, every time you go into your prompt, you will apply the persona. You see, I already have it right here. So what this is going to do is every time it is generating a response, it's going to apply that persona, which it just showed us, hey, I'm Alex H, blah, 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 blah. So this is, kind of the current way to make this occur. You would place the persona inside of the system. That way it is, entered into the kind of flow before the memory prompt. So it is told who it is. So it's just like talking to GPT. If you've ever looked into prompt engineering on, on LLMs, the best format is, you tell the bot who it is, what its goal is, your main command, and then any requests or, format, desirables. For instance, this one says keep your response as brief as possible while retaining all information. So that's, hopefully explains how to kind of approach that. I'm seeing lots of questions. So let me kind of take a moment to read through these, see if any of them kind of pertain to this. This will be very useful. Yeah, that's good. Okay. I'm not really seeing any that pertain to that. So Sid, hopefully that kind of answered that. Of course, we'll have the open Q&A at the end. We can maybe dive back or circle back, or of course, I'm always available in Discord. But for now, I kind of want to touch this language changer that we've built up here. So the goal of this thing is basically, this is a very simple chat bot. It doesn't really do anything special except, talk to OpenAI's language. This right here, as you can see, you can say, let's chat. That'll take us to this listen loop where it'll listen and respond until we're done talking to it. How tall is the Empire State Building? Oh, it's this big. How tall is, this, the Burj Khalifa or whatever it is. It'll say that and you say, okay, I'm done with that. And it'll bring you back out and say, okay, how can I help you? What I wanted to show here, though, is how I have found a way to change language kind of in the flow and kind of permanently. So what this does is please state the language you would like for me to speak with. The simplest way is, of course, answer in simple Spanish. Simple single phrases are best for these bots. Path not connected. Excuse me. It is. Maybe I need to train 1 sec. No, don't need to train. Change language. Spanish. Okay. We're going to delete these. Reconnect. Start the test from here. Spanish. Okay, this is very strange. Try and duplicate this. Delete. Sometimes it gets a little finicky when you're a part of too many different builds. This was working last night, I swear. Path not connected. Session ended. I have never seen this. Let me try restarting the bot. Dashboard, tester, language extractor, user language. So I can just kind of explain what it's doing. See if that will fix it. Actually, let me just try it because I restarted the bot. Let's try something less impressive. Why did it go there? That is very strange. That path is definitely connected. Okay, well, I'm just going to have to explain it then. So what this does is you ask it, please state the language you would like to respond when speaking with you. You can say, Spanish, English, Russian, Portuguese, what have you. This is a set AI. It's called language extractor. Basically, it says you are to take the user input and decide what language they're wanting you to speak in. The idea here, which actually I guess I can just do it this way to show the example. Connect, take that out of it. Spanish, there we go. Then it's going to start speaking in Spanish. I can ask it a question in English. How long is a football field? And it's going to fail. I think these set AI blocks are broken in this bot for some strange reason. Keeps happening. But continue the chat. What this language extractor set AI block does is it's going to look at last utterance. So just a refresher, last utterance is always refreshing, always anything, the last thing the user typed into the input field is always stored as last utterance. Whether you want it to be or not, whether you save it as something else or not, it's getting put there. So this looks at their last utterance. The goal of this is to pull only the language from their statement. So say, please speak to me in Spanish. It's only going to pull Spanish. I don't want it to save, user language as please speak to me in Spanish. I want only Spanish. So what this does is take the input from last utterance, extract only the name of the language the user has either spoken in or stated. Examples, Spanish, Russian, English, French, Portuguese. Down here in the system prompt, it's very important to always, fidget with the system prompt. You are a helpful assistant. You are to only respond with a single word. No punctuation is needed. Actually, this might be a GPT issue we can solve with Claude. Same thing over here. Oh, because Claude broke. So down here, it will generate a response, let the user know that it understood their request. You're a helpful assistant. Your answer should be brief and to the point. You should only respond in the variable that we just created, user language. Then it's going to send us down here into a separate listen loop. This one is language specific. When we go to the review, you'll see down here, we are calling on user language, which we created using that set AI block. And it's going to, based on user's last utterance and last response, generate a response to the user's input. So this will keep them in that language in this loop until they leave. And actually, it'll come back up here to English. The way to effectively bring this into a bot would be to have an if block that will check the user's language. And if it's English, send them down the English path. If it's Spanish, you could create a Spanish path, a Russian path, all the different languages, that you'd want your bot to be able to be multilingual in. So, just for poops and giggles, I'm going to try and refresh, see if it'll maybe work this time. No trainings needed. And let's run a loop through the listen loop just to kind of show what it's doing here. What would you like to discuss? How tall is the Empire State Building? And it's going to, So those set AI blocks are acting a fool right now for me. So can't really demonstrate how well this was working, but it was working. So, on that topic, I want to see real quick if there were any questions about it. Kim, had you noticed any?
On that topic, let's see.
We're good.
I think we're good. There's one actually around the persona stuff. So once you set AI to establish persona, do you need to include persona and all the response AI steps moving forward?
Yes, in all the response blocks that you want it to respond in the user's persona. So the reason I clarify that is, so for instance, on this language extractor, I wouldn't want to apply a persona to this because I want it to respond with a single word with no punctuation. Meaning, for instance, preview, let's see, this might work. So for this, I would say, I want you to speak in Spanish. So if I didn't have any of the logic from the AI involved here, it would save this entire utterance as user language. But ideally, it'll only put out Spanish with no period, no nothing. So now it says user language is Spanish. So you can see this does work here. So that means now, anytime I want it to respond in Spanish, it responds in Spanish. I've seen people use this. So for instance, I've worked with a gentleman who he's building a Chinese bot, but the product he's working with is the law. So he's a lawyer and he's building a bot that helps with law things. But he built the entire bot in English, but it says to respond, in Mandarin or what have you. And one reason he did that is because, strangely enough, in China, most of their legal stuff is done in English, because it's such a rigorous and kind of clearly defined language. Other languages have conjugations and all sorts of weird aspects to them. That's why they do their law stuff in English. But you can see that does work. Here's the quit detector. We can also preview here. I want to quit, and it should output, if the user has the intent to quit, output 1. So that means it changes the want to quit variable to 1. Oh, I might know why that failed. No, user language is there. I was thinking maybe the variable wasn't set up properly for this to be doing it, but it is. So I think there's just a little bug inside this bot. Sometimes if you have bugs like that, what I found can fix them is, going back to the dashboard, duplicate it, go from there. But I did want to take a little bit of time. We have about 4 or 5 minutes left to before we start the Q&A to kind of look at these templates. So this is the free Head Start bot. Basically, it's got the listen loop. It has predefined topics for keeping everything nice and organized. But basically, this is just kind of my starting point from where I jump off. You can see this one does have a persona built into it. Now you are Head Start bot, AI salesman that works for business name. These are for you to come in and change the name to what have you. But basically, the first time they come in, it's going to grab the persona and apply it to the persona. Because the memory on this bot is set to never forget, it will keep that persona until otherwise instructed. Meaning, you could. I've built a bot before where you can change the persona on the fly. I can kind of show him. So let's see, that's Finn. So Finn here. Basically, if we were to run a test, it's going to take us down the new user path. Session ended. Yeah, see, my set AI blocks are completely failing on all my bots. Very strange. But basically, what it can do is right here, I built a system that says, let's play a game. Awesome. It's going to be fun. Let's see. Yeah, this will work. So the idea here is this is a way someone can kind of test and see how a bot would look for their business. So what niche does my business serve? Let's say HVAC. Okay. Now I'm training. Name of my company, Tyler's HVAC. And should apply that. Whoa. Caught an intent somehow. Just kind of step back to where that was and try a different input. So let's do something different. Let's say, what is my cookies? We serve cookies, and we are Kim's Cookie Factory. All right. And last question, what's the name of the bot? We're going to call it Braden. Make him her, or make her him his boss. That'll be fun. Recalibrating. Oh, the set AI kind of broke. But basically, you are a bot name, AI salesman that works for Kim's Cookies. You are committed and to serving cookies. All done. Now, when we come here, it is set up as the persona to basically do another listen loop, pretending to be, the Braden bot for Kim's Cookies. So that's one way you can kind of play with the personas using set AI and different logics. But yeah, I think that should give us right about the right amount of time for our Q&A.
Yeah, let's
at
do
this
it.
point, we'd like to kind of open the floor, raise your hands. In the Zoom, I'm going to be reading through these while we look for people to, take the stage.
Nice.
So I see one question I can answer real quick. It says, is there a way to turn off intent for a block inside of an intent? The way that you can do this is with the intent scoping. So this is one of my bots. This is Leo. What he's doing, rather than offering just straight buttons, if you just offer buttons, so for instance, let me go find this little section that has buttons. If you offer buttons, what's going to happen is it's going to show the user all the buttons, but what you'll end up, the set AI is not going to work for him. Basically, it's going to give the buttons rather than taking an input. So, unless they type in exactly what is on those buttons, it's just going to loop back and say, please press a button. Here is an option for choice. So over here on logic, listen, you can do a choice step, and down here in the settings, you can add buttons. This is what we're doing here. So we have a few buttons that are presented. Let me take the set AI out. So now this will work. You'll see that it now has buttons, but it also has, it's listening for all intents. So that means intents on this page, intents on that page, and all of these specific button presses. So I can press a button, it'll take me where I need to go, or I can say, let's see, I want to chat. So this is not let's chat. If these were just buttons and I typed this in, it would say, I'm sorry, I don't understand. But because these are intents, it's going to go to the chat box intent, say, yeah, I can squeeze you in and start the listen loop. Over here, to get back to your question about listening for the intents, down in the settings for either your listen block, so if you're just, say you're just capturing, you can do the same thing, go to intent scoping, and what this will give you the option to do is listen for all intents or listen for intents only in this step. So here on this example, these are the intents in this step, these buttons that we offered. If I change this to, go back to choice, change this to intents only in this step, what that's going to do is only these intents which are tied to buttons, only these intents which are tied to buttons will work. So, if I say technical support, that's not one of these intents listed. It's going to say, sorry, I don't understand, even though I do have the agent transfer technical support option. Hopefully that kind of answers your question. I did put in a feature request for intent scoping for, I'd like to see an option where intents are only picked up on this topic if possible. We'll cross our fingers and hope that Voiceflow can get to that at some point. But that is where you do it down here in the settings for intent scoping. You can, kind of choose where that goes. So let me clean this back up a little bit, put them back together.
All right. We have a couple hands up.
Yep.
How we get to those? So Matt, if you want to unmute.
Hello again, Matt.
Hello, Tyler. Thank you so much for this tutorial. One question about persona. What is the rationale? If you're including the persona variable as part of your system prompt in Response AI, what is the rationale for using set AI to do the persona rather than just a set function?
I've truly never thought of doing that. I suppose you could, use just a set. So what he's talking about is using this. So just a plain set. What that can do is, at this point you can say, you are a cowboy, yeehaw. And then, apply that to persona. So this would be a good option. And actually that would probably save you some tokens. So that's a really good thought that I hadn't thought of, Matt. So thank you.
Okay, so it achieves the same. The question behind the question is like that would achieve the same purpose regardless. Yeah. Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good to know.
So yeah, definitely do what Matt says. Use the set AI so that you don't have these broken, or use a set logic rather than a set AI, because the AI if you use the set AI to do this, you're going to use tokens to do that. Anytime you're using the LLM, so the AI, you're using tokens. If you're using the NLU, so the natural language unit, back to where we had started before, if you're using that, then you don't use tokens. So great question, Matt.
Awesome. Thanks for hopping on. We have another hand, Razvan. If you want to hop on and unmute.
Yes, hello. Thank you for this. It's really helpful, and I'm new to Voiceflow. Really glad to be part of the community. I tried with the old way of emailing for support. I think I should have used Discord. I actually wrote my questions in the website. Don't know if I should say them.
Yeah, I see you.
Yeah,
feel free to read them out.
Okay, so the first thing, which is the most painful thing for our clients, is that they want to have different channels in the same time for the same bot. So, for example, we build the knowledge into it, and obviously the logic into it. And then they want WhatsApp, but they also want to include it on their website. And in the future, maybe when you have Messenger integration, they also want to integrate it there. But unfortunately, it seems that you only can select the channel when you create the bot, and you cannot do it afterwards. I tried to cheat on that, and I created a WhatsApp bot and included the JavaScript for it, and I changed the project ID, and it seems to be working. It's just that I'm blind and I cannot make the bot look differently. I cannot change the title, the picture. I was also mentioning that I tried in the JavaScript with the assistant. I saw in the documentation that you can pass over to overwrite those things in the JavaScript snippet, but that also doesn't work. I just wanted to know if it's a limitation or you never had this request or thought about it. I definitely saw it on one of your competitors, these multi-channel bots. And yeah, the suggestion from the customer service was to clone the bot with another channel, but this is rather dummy to do because you would duplicate all your knowledge. You will have multiple bots for multiple clients. It will be a mess in our account.
Yes. So the unfortunate side of that currently is the best workaround is what you mentioned, at least the best one I'm aware of. Now, I do want to clarify, I do not work for Voiceflow. I'm just doing this because, but basically the way I've done this in the past is just like you said. I create two bots. It does become a headache because anytime you make changes in one, you have to translate them over. The redeeming factor is that you can always hold Shift, grab, and Control C, go to a different bot, and Control V that on over there. But it does require some work. There are ways. However, if you are using the Dialog Manager API to only have the conversation path be within the Voiceflow screen, and then on the back end where your APIs go, that's where all of the logic and a lot of the back end work can be handled. And what that means is you can, inside of the dialog manager. So for instance, say I wanted to do a, will this show it? No, an API would. So with your requests and everything, you can, I actually can't show it here. So, but what you can do is rather than having this bot pass the information to a duplicate project ID, you can have both bots, reference the same project ID on the back end, so that you build the logic once in a web chat screen or a Voiceflow web chat screen, and then in your WhatsApp bot, whenever you do a API call for the AI or the backend to do something, you reference the project ID for the web chat. That way you don't have to constantly be duplicating all of your work. You'd have a prime, kind of bot that runs and does everything, and the other ones can, call upon him. So I know that's probably not the best answer, and maybe someone from the Voiceflow team has a better one, but that's what I've got.
Yeah, for sure. And Daniel, feel free to chime in here. But at Voiceflow, our focus is to give you essentially the APIs to be able to connect to whatever channel that you want. So the ones that you see kind of built native into the product are built-in integrations that honestly on the back end, it's just us building the API. But we want to give you the keys to connect to wherever you want. So if you want to connect to multiple channels, you just have to use the API directly. And happy to share more docs on that as well.
Great
So
question.
basically, using the Dialog API to implement a proxy to WhatsApp and Messenger and other channels, right?
Yes.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and just to add to that as well, like that'll give you
Is
the
it on
most.
the roadmap to integrate also Messenger as a channel? I saw it in a YouTube video. It was saying coming soon, but now it's gone from Voiceflow UI actually.
Yeah, I can answer this one. These are all good questions. So really on the Voiceflow side, where we're focusing is we're going to be focusing in on on two areas. One of them is web chat, and the other one is the API. And so with the API, you can have one project and you can connect to multiple channels. You do have to build a proxy, but that's actually the best way to have the most flexibility, because then you can really handle like how responsive from Voiceflow map to this end channel, and you can kind of see it end to end. And so those are the two areas that we're kind of moving towards focusing on. And so that's why you saw the kind of coming soon on the Messenger be removed from the app, because rather than build out the kind of out of the box integrations, we're going to focus on making the API just a lot more powerful. So if you are a developer or you have a developer that you're working with, being able to use the API directly with the channel will allow you to kind of build a very, very powerful customized assistant versus an out-of-box integration. That's the kind of the direction that we're going to be moving in.
Great,
Okay,
thank
cool.
you.
Great. Okay. So I know we're pretty much at time, but for those that can hang around, feel free. So Diego, I noticed that you had a question. Feel free to just unmute and hop on.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. First and foremost, just wanted to say thank you. This presentation was really valuable. And I know I've spoken to Kim through DM earlier. She was super helpful earlier in the week. Tyler, another great presentation. So thank you. A lot of value I'm getting. Now, my only additional question is I've built chatbots for clients and I've integrated it with Kate Privacy as a way to redact certain personal information through an API call, and that was fantastic. But the one thing I'm struggling in is I'd like to incorporate something that can help me capture KPI metrics. So an example would really just be like how much time is my customer saving per month based on the integration of this chatbot. Are there any AI tools or integrations or anything you can think of that would help me basically get that information? And yeah, thank you so much.
So I can take a quick stab at this one. Nothing comes to my mind. I'd love to hear the Voiceflow team's thoughts, but in that same vein, those are types of integrations that teams like mine are looking to build. So Diego, I'd love to maybe link up in Discord so we can pursue what exactly you're looking for, so that we can figure out if that's something that can be built. I've seen lots of requests for being able to see a outside source for say your client as an admin to be able to view what questions are being asked, how long people are spending in the bot. Of course you can find ways to make special paths that will allow the client's back end to be able to see where the business came from. So there's definite possibilities there, but maybe Daniel has some thoughts as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, same comes with Tyler. Actually, Diego, I just sent you a message in the chat here. I would love to get your email so we can learn more about your use case. But yeah, typically what we'll do in Voiceflow and the kind of strategy we have is we build a service in Voiceflow and then we'll expose the API and as much information as we can. And so folks can kind of build things on top of that. But yeah, I'd love to get a sense of like, maybe off this call, like what kind of stuff you're looking at. So I can recommend either what APIs would be really good or maybe what tools we've seen other teams use that might be good for use case as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks for your help.
Thank you.
Great. So we're going to wrap around 1:15, just I know we're going a bit over time. I think it might be most valuable to answer questions for those that are still remaining in this call. So please raise hand if you still have anything else to ask. But if not, we can hop to some of the remaining questions in the Slido. Great. Okay, Razvan. think you can just unmute. Hop
Yes,
on.
I have one more. How can we edit or influence the way AI responds from the knowledge base, based, for example, so like a score or something like this? Imagine we have a list of products, and the user asks, what products do you recommend? And then we should have something like in a MySQL database, you would have the products and then a score, and the higher the score, the first answer comes with a higher score, something like this. It seems like Voiceflow, once the documents are ingested, there is no way to see how the vectors are stored and like visualize or sort them or influence kind of what is appended to the context of the OpenAI prompt.
Tyler, feel
So
free to- yeah, I was just
for-
gonna pull it up.
for that one, the example from the template page from Voiceflow for the advanced AI sources is very, very helpful on understanding kind of what goes on there. The way that you're able to see that type of stuff is using the debugger mode. So during your test, if you come up here and you have the debug, you can see intent confidence score. This is probably what you're wanting to kind of get, because built into the, let's see, right here, intent confidence is a built-in or variable within Voiceflow. So that means anytime it is going out to the knowledge base, it is capturing an intent confidence, which is that percentage that was built into the settings page. So right here, your threshold. Basically, it is giving, whenever it goes out and taps onto one of these resources. Let me see if I have stuff. Yeah, I do.
But in my case, I have actually no intent. I think the intent goes to the NLU, right? I just have knowledge base question and answers, and
Yes.
he will just answer whatever he wants from the knowledge base.
Right. So let me kind of run this little example here. So let me think of that. Let's wait for a start up to succeed. I can't spell succeed right now. Camera's on me. That's what I blame. So what this should do, because I turned on the debugger and the confidence score, we should be able to see, let's see. But in the knowledge base, I have some blogs on startups and stuff like that. It didn't seem to match a path. Yeah, none, 100%. This is the intent debugger. This tells you the confidence score for what article it has. Let me see what is actually in my knowledge base. Landing page ready for validation. So let's restart this test. And say, how do I know if my landing page is ready for validation? So that should match that first blog we saw. We should see a confidence score, none. Nope. So it's just responding from generative. It's not pulling the thing right. But basically here you can see that it's looking for an intent score, chunk score, is what it's stored in the back end. That would be the variable you want to look at. Maybe one of the team members can dive in there, but chunk score is, you can have that output and that will tell you with what confidence it matched that knowledge base resource.
Yeah. Nico, if you want to unmute and share more, but we are working on adding tags and categories to knowledge base sources. So that is something that is going to come up from our end. Oh, yeah. Hey, Nico. Can't quite hear you for some reason. I don't know if it's just me. Tyler, can you hear anything?
No, I can't.
Hmm.
Did you? I'm assuming you unmuted him.
Yeah. He seems to be unmuted. Yeah, Nico, while you
This one is better. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, what I was typing here is we are working on a new version of the knowledge base, and one of the feature we are going to add is a way to add or to tag or to add categories to your document or sources. What it means in a more global use case is, for example, for when you want to use one knowledge base, but with multiple sort of documents. Let's say a part that of those documents are related to products only, and another one is for the company or stuff like that. So then you can use category, and tags is more in your case, or in the for the question here, you can flag or prioritize some of those source or document. But what the LLM can't do is, based on the different chunk, says what's the best product is if you are sharing 10 products, unless you tag those products by priority, and in that case you will be able to filter those products. Then there's no real way for the LLM to do this unless you do another pass with the chunk, so the results from the knowledge base, and do another pass of LLM to say, okay, I've got those 5 products, and based on the previous history of the conversation, what is a best fit? That's another way to do it now. But for this, you might have to add in your prompt as well some rules to select the best product, for example. But again, ultimately, you will be able to use tags, and the query API will allow you to do some use some condition to return and use only the chunk that match those tags, for example.
Sweet. Thanks, Nico. And Razvan, hopefully that provides a bit more color to the question you had. I know we are at time. And Adam, I do see that you dropped a question here. I added a response in chat, but feel free to kind of follow up on Discord after this. But yeah, I feel pretty comfortable to start wrapping up, Tyler, but thanks everyone for hopping on.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I appreciate y'all coming out, and hopefully, we covered some information that's valuable to you. We're always looking for more ideas for what to cover in subsequent classes. So, always check out the Discord if you're not already in there. You can usually find any of us, and we're all trying our best to help you. So, thanks again.
Great. Thanks everyone. See you on Discord. Bye.